I don't believe that the media is here to tell the average citizen what or how to think. Both right and left media does it constantly. They insert their viewpoint and then they leave some things out, whether it's right or left, that favor their viewpoint. They want you to think like they think. And I don't think that's a good place for our state or our republic. I believe that the media's job is to report so that people can read the whole story, see what the issue is about, understand the issue, and then think for themselves and make their own decisions for themselves. I'm Konni Burton. I'm CEO and founder of the Texan News. I started it in 2019. I started it because I was tired of a biased media. My frustration a lot of times is the people who come out of journalism school certainly can write well, but they don't know the issues that they're writing on, particularly in politics, particularly when they only have a left of center viewpoint. So it was important to me to get people who understood particularly Texas politics and can write on the issues, campaigns, candidates from a perspective of knowledge, not just something that they've never been involved in before.
I think our goal here is so bound to an idea that mainstream media is not doing the job it's supposed to be doing by telling stories that are either disingenuous, dishonest, or don't include all the information needed to be honest about a story.
We recognize and act on how the job is supposed to be done, how journalism was meant to be and how it was for a while. These days, most of the people doing my job are activists, whether they see themselves that way or not.
Even though, we all have opinions, we're not trying to put that into our writing. We want anybody to be able to read it and not necessarily know what side of the debate we're coming from.
We sent out a survey last year to our subscribers, kind of getting feedback of why they subscribe, why they enjoy us. And the number one resounding thing that lots and lots of people said, we break things down in a way that is simple to understand. We take complex policy issues like tax and energy, which are so nerdy and Brad gets in the weeds, and yet he's able to take those complex issues and bring them in such a way that it's easy to understand and so people can see the different debates going on in the legislature.
The information's out there. We're going to put it in our stories, making sure everyone has the full scope of what's really going on, making sure we're providing the best information to our readers.
We really just have a different culture in our office, and the culture starts from the top down, and so Konni has set that.
If I don't laugh a lot, I will I'll curl up in a ball and cry, because politics is maddening. Laughter is very important to keep you sane and to get you through it. And I've been very pleased to see that the Texan staff believes that as well. And while there may be some heated arguments, laughter eventually ensues.
I think we are way too cold to each other. I don't think we have much fun. I think jokes, both the aggressive kind and I can literally see Rob saying things over here about this interview. And he's here's what's happening. Rob's pointing a Nerf gun at me, if that tells you anything about The Office. You have to be ready. There, see? I'm just saying. That's the culture of The Office. Brad?
I'm filled with existential dread every single day until I step into this office because of the love that radiates once I open that door. Everyone's so nice and loving, and I never want to leave. This is the only place I want to be.
There was a really heated debate about Texas weather recently, and that one just pulled from everyone, not even just in the office, across the team, from our remote reporters too. So everyone got involved in that one.
Have I been known as a war profiteer? The relationship between Brad and Mackenzie is kind of like this. It's bizarre that they're not siblings. I mean, they definitely don't look like it whatsoever. But the way that they interact, if you listen to a podcast, you'd think that they're brother and sister. Because he knows how to trigger her, and she knows how to trigger him, and they like triggering each other, and I like triggering them both. I mean, hypothetically, I would.
Tensions were high, is all I'll say.
Who was right?
Brad.
I knew I liked you.
Wait, Brad right now?
The weather?
I'm right, you're wrong.
The weather debate!
Oh.
Sometimes I just leave this office and I just start bawling in my car because of the abuse.
We're starting off laughing.
Yeah, that's the good one. That's the good start.
Hi, Mackenzie.
How are you today?
Good, I'm good. So happy to be here with the Texan.
Okay, Konni, we do have bones to pick. You don't visit us as often as you used to.
Because y'all are so good at what you do, I don't have to be here.
I know, and you're very busy. You're just a very busy lady.
Am I? Am I, Mackenzie?
She's busy doing important things all the time. If folks are not familiar with this lovely lady sitting across from me, this is Konni Burton. She's our founder, our CEO, former state senator, Empress of the World is what I like to call her.
Which I actually require y'all to call me that when I come in.
We walk in the room, we all stand. She walks in the room, we all stand. Yeah, we make it work. But it's our 5-year anniversary.
Yes!
We're prepping for it, or it's not quite, but we're prepping for it. We're excited.
This will probably go out maybe even the day of. I don't even know. These are decisions that others
that we
make.
will have to make. Yes.
I don't make these decisions.
Connie's just here to have fun.
I am.
But we have a lot to celebrate. And so we thought, what better way to celebrate than to have you jump on the pod, which we know you love to jump on the pod.
Yes, I do. As I recall, the first time I ever got on a pod, it was like, I think it was in the first year, first months, and y'all took me out.
We took you, what do you mean? Like we edited you out?
Yes, you edited me out.
I don't remember that.
I remember that.
You're probably right, but I don't remember it. Why? Did you say?
I just walked in thinking it was going to be funny.
Oh, and we edited that out?
Yes!
That was a bad decision.
I thought so too. That guy's gone.
Yeah, well, we try again this time.
There you go.
And
okay.
here she is. But really, we're just grateful to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
We know it's your favorite thing in the
here.
world. But I wanted to go back and talk about, we're nearing our 5-year anniversary. There's so much to talk about in terms of the Texan, why it was founded, your vision for the company. So I thought we would kind of start there with a look back. When you look back at our founding, the vision that you and Phil had for the company in the very first place, has the Texan filled that gap in the media landscape? Looking back at what your original vision was for the company in 2018.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. It just amazes me. And why is because all of you who are part of the Texan, I think, believe in the mission as much as the mission that I had for the vision I had for the business. And you want me to go into a little bit of
please.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, or even if you do and you kind of need a refresher, I just got very, very, very frustrated with media. From my perspective, I am a former state senator. I am a conservative Republican. I have a record. So while I say all this, I want everybody to understand that, I have a particular opinion in politics. But what I was tired of is a media that had opinions in politics, because that's not where I believe it should be. I just, as an activist, as somebody who ran for office, as somebody that then was in office, I saw how events, issues, campaigns, things in the political world happened. And then I would read an article about that very thing that I was at or attended or a part of. And it would be from this very biased viewpoint. And it was like, this isn't how it happened. This isn't how it was. And so I was very frustrated for many years of the media that was from the left of center perspective, particularly here in Texas, who has over half of the population who is right of center. Now, so it was insulting to those of us who were right of center that, we had a media that was more activist, push stories that were, I would say those on the left who were more interested in reading would ignore stories that people on the right would be interested in knowing about. But I wasn't interested in becoming what the media was on the left and becoming that on the right. I wasn't interested in that at all. What my vision is to actually start a media company, a statewide political news organization. So it's a very niche market here, right? I mean, we are talking politics. This is a political news organization. But I didn't want it to be biased in such a way that we pushed an agenda. I wanted a media that got back to what media is supposed to do, and that is to report. I think people are grown-ups. I think if they read the facts, they can make up their own mind. I don't mind people disagreeing with my viewpoint. In fact, that is somewhat healthy. And then you can talk about those particular issues and come to some conclusion. What I don't like is media organizations who are out there who act like we're just reporting the news and they're actually pushing an agenda.
Yeah.
And so that was my goal in starting the Texan, and everybody that we brought on has just been like 100% on board with that goal, and they understand it. They continue to do it. I think even, and I don't mean to take away from any of them who have come on who believe in the mission, but I think even more so once you're here and you're doing it, you really, really see it even more how important the mission is, because you go, oh my God, yes, look at this story that we just covered with these facts, and this outlet totally left this part out that kind of gives people a different impression. So I think even once you're here and working toward this mission of just reporting the news, you really start to see how pervasive it is in media outlets on the left and the right.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that then. When you look at the media landscape in Texas specifically, when we launched 5 years ago versus now, how has that changed, if at all?
So it's a great question. I don't think that I'd like to say that the media that was so biased from the left has learned its lesson, but I don't believe it has. It hasn't. I mean, they still use phrases and, write certain stories ad nauseum that, again, is only important to, say, left of center Texans. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it's, again, from a certain perspective. So I don't think anything has changed on the media on the left. I do think that the media on the right has gotten, because the media on the left has become so toxic, and I think it's generally because of President Trump. I think there's such toxicity there from the media toward him that they get even more activist. But unfortunately, what I'm seeing is media on the right is becoming even more activist as well. They're interjecting their feelings and opinions and digging in. Reacting, perfect. Reacting instead of, let's just report the news. Let's not try to. I mean, we're not here to get in media wars, and I think that's where we're kind of are, right? The media is fighting each other. They're almost like reporting on each other. There's a lot of that right now, and people like that. to me, that's noise. And while people need to understand it and know about it, I get that. But then it's like, wait a minute, y'all are all arguing, all these media are reporting on each other, and we've got the Texas legislature, in session that are, doing things that are very important to the average Texan. So I just want us to report on things that are going on that really matter to everyday Texans so that they can understand, do I agree with this? Do I not agree with this? And then if I do, it's not the media to determine whether, legislation should be killed or if legislation should be advocated. It's up to us to report it, so then the people in there where they live can decide, you know what, I need to get to the Capitol and I need to testify on this, or you know what, I need to pick up the phone and call my legislator and say, I believe in this or I don't believe in this. And so too much of the time, I think the media thinks that it's their job. I've literally seen reporters say, we did it by, air quality is now better because we, did such and such. It's like, that's
that your goal?
Yeah, exactly. If you went into it as that your goal, that's incorrect. That's not your goal. You're not an activist. That's for the people to do, not you as a reporter in a media outlet. So I think we're more factioned more than ever in the media.
I would totally agree with that. I think back to when we first launched 5 years ago, and I think it took work just to get a call back from somebody you think would respond to a call or a text or an email with either previous relationships some of the staff had or whatever it is. Like, you'd think that it would be easy to get responses from folks. That's just one example, but there are so many ways I think the company has grown since we started. In your mind, when you look back at the last few years, how has the Texan grown, changed, evolved since we launched?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, the reputation. I mean, it's just amazing. Like you said, even though, okay, there's a dichotomy here. So first off, I think the fact that I was a former senator did in some ways help us to launch, right? Because
absolutely,
it just...
There's
people
contacts,
who knew me,
there's reputation.
Trusted me,
yes.
Okay, I believe, I believe in her, I believe in this organization. Okay, so there was that. But there was also, she's owned by such and such, whoever that may be. There was a lot of that as well. So I think
which means you may not know Konni very well. If that's what you think about Konni.
Did you see my votes? Did you see them? Anyway, so there was that level of distrust. On one hand, there was a level of trust. On the other hand, there was a level of distrust. And listen, I absolutely, and there might have just been a level of distrust because media, right? Because we're all sick of them. It's like, wait, you've got an agenda. You're not just going to get a quote from me and use it the way that I meant it. You're going to put my quote in this article and push it to mean something different. Because I saw that. We've all seen it for years. So there's, okay, you're a media organization, dedicated to factual reporting. Sure.
Yeah,
I think there was a lot of that too, right? So, you couldn't get, I know y'all had a hard time getting people to call you back because they didn't really know, is it worth it? Are they really going to do what they said they were going to do? And y'all have just proven it. You have stuck with the mission. You have reported on stories factually. You don't report hearsay or rumors. You don't inject your own opinion. You do exactly what you say you're going to do, and that has earned such trust and reputation with, particularly, I talk about the legislatures because our office is, and if anybody doesn't know, our office is here in Austin. It's very important that we have our office in Austin. As I always say, the belly of the beast. There's a lot of reporters out there that just report from their computer in where they are, wherever their home is, and it's not in Austin, and they're never even put a foot into the Capitol. And anybody who knows anything knows that you cannot report on something from afar in a very,
holistic.
Yes, way. You don't get the full picture. And so, our reporters are on the ground in the Capitol. They're on the Senate floor. They're on the House floor. They are there. So they're earning that reputation that not only are they there, when they do talk to a legislator, they put it out factually in the article, and, they'll read it and there's like, holy cow, this is, they are doing what they said they're going to do. So our reputation is just, before, like you said, you couldn't get people to call you. Now you've got people calling you with stories and things that are going on, and I always tell people, and people come to me with stories, and I appreciate it very much. I don't determine what we write. I don't even see the stories that are published until they are published. That's a fact that people may not
don't
believe.
Realize that.
No, I do not see these stories until they're published. And I push them onto our editor, and I always warn people, because I think this is where we've gotten to now is, we only have so much bandwidth. We're not a huge organization like some of these media organizations are. We're a very small team. But I always call y'all a lean, mean fighting machine. You just put out as much content as other media who has much huger.
Much huger. We're a
I
news
don't think
publication.
much huger is a word or phrase.
We know what words are here. It's so good.
But so while now we have stories coming to us rather than us, even trying to get people
It's
to
flipped
call
on
us
its
back.
head.
You're
Yeah,
right.
totally.
Exactly. And while I always caution people, even though we've got lots of stories coming at us all the time, there's only so much you can, print, because Texas is a big state.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
A lot going on.
And that's something I do want to dovetail into quickly, is I don't think you publicly get enough credit for that whole vision for the company, because I think because people see you share your opinion online, they think that somehow you are disjointed or removed from the vision of the company, when we are doing what we're doing because that's your vision for the company.
Absolutely.
It's what you and Phil sat down and said, this is what our organization is going to be. These are the code of ethics. This is how we're going to operate.
That's right.
And just because you go online and share an opinion you have, people tend to credit.
Oh, that's why they're going to write on this.
Totally, or credit the Texan for the stories we publish, and not credit you for the vision you have for the company. And that is so odd to me, because you're the founder, you're the CEO, you're the head of the company.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It doesn't matter to me that I, don't get credit for that. But what I want to prove to people is that you can, on a personal level, have an opinion, and you can still own a media organization that is focused on, factual reporting of the news. And it's not hard. It's not hard. I think it's a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around. I know it was when I first started this, and we were talking to different people. I called people all over the country, and told them what I wanted to do. And, I was like, but don't you want to get into, opinions and act, and I was like, no, there's a million people out there doing it right now. I do it on a daily basis on Twitter. I constantly let people know how I feel. But in this organization, they're not going to. They're going to give you the facts so that you can determine for yourself on issues, candidates, campaigns. I believe in people. At the end of the day, I believe that people can make up their own minds.
Well, then
if they're given all the information. Sorry.
Exactly. Well, then what do you say to those critics who say, yeah, Konni, you're sharing your opinion online. You're saying this, you're saying that, but your reporters aren't. Like, the Texan can't possibly be an objective news organization. What do you say to those people?
I say read the articles.
Yeah.
Read them. Show me where. And it's funny because most of the people who say that, particularly online, are, I don't even know if they're real, but some of them are.
Some of them aren't real.
Trolls,
for sure.
And we're subscription based, and I sometimes kind of play with them a little bit and say something like, "Oh, I don't see your name on as a subscriber," even though they're going on and on and on about the rag or whatever that the Texan is. So I know good and well they haven't even read. Normally there are people that really have not read the Texan. We have people from both sides of the aisle who subscribe to the Texan, and I love that more than anything, because I'm so tired of personalities, name calling, even though I'm sure I do that.
But from the media, right? From members of the media.
Yes. And just superfluous noise out there. It just makes me crazy. I just want us to get back to discussing issues and getting factual information and, coming up with whatever solutions those are. I don't even mean, because that's obviously the solutions are up to the legislators to do that, but enable people to know what they're talking about when they are talking to their legislator or if they're coming down to testify or something, right? I want people to get accurate and full information, and so much of the time it isn't. So we're arguing, where I'm trying to get with this point is that we're arguing over things that really aren't real half the time, because I don't know, a media organization will say, such and such, and it's like, that didn't even happen. That's not, what are you talking about? And everybody's yelling about this such and such that they claimed, happened. And so it's like, okay, but we've got this real issue here that nobody's dealing with while everybody's arguing about something that was reported that wasn't even real. So that's why, I have opinions. Yes, I vocalize them often, but my God, can we just, argue over things that are important to Texans and not argue over all this other garbage that's out there that doesn't really have anything to do with, other than anger and name calling and that kind of stuff.
Totally. That's great. What topics in your mind do you see legacy, mainstream, whatever your adjective of choice might be, media neglect in their coverage?
So, when we first started, it's more, it is topics, certainly. There are topics, I think, pro-life / abortion type issues were always ignored by the mainstream media. I don't know how many people know this, and you likely wouldn't if you didn't read the Texan, is sanctuary cities for the unborn is something that is happening all over Texas at different levels of government, and we've reported on just about each and every one. If not each one, we've lumped them sometimes together, in stories. That is something that's happening in politics. We are a political news organization. The left of center media, I think, covered the first one, and that's it. And when they covered it, it was about all the white men that were on the city council who voted for it. I think that's right?
City of Wascom.
Yes. So that's how they reported on it. It was about the color of the old, I think they even said that, old white men who voted for a sanctuary city for the unborn. So it wasn't about the issue. Again, see, that's kind of what I was trying to get at the last, when I was just talking a minute ago about it's making people argue over, why are y'all talking about old white men on the city council rather than talking about the issue of the sanctuary city for the unborn?
The policy, whatever policy's on the table.
Right. It's got to be all the other superfluous things that really are not important to the story. They think it's important to the story, but it's not. Anyway, so there is, something that we have continued to report on, but I think more than anything, it's what I just described. Even if we do report on the same kinds of stories, it's how we report on them. Obviously, we did not report on the fact that it was an all-white male city council that passed this. By the way, that's who the elected for their city council. So you're kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? You're being mean. What's the word I'm looking for? Toward the people that elected that council. In other words, derogatory.
Yes.
Right? You're kind of making the media who reported it like that was being very derogatory, as if these old white males can't make the decision. Well, the people in that town elected these guys, so you're kind of being derogatory toward them too. I don't think they realize how elitist.
Yeah.
The media can be so elitist, and to me that's, proved it right there. But, when we write on the border, always in years past, I got so frustrated because it's, and whether they realize it or not, but the left of center media would report on these border stories as if Texans were racist. That was the perspective. Like the Sanctuary City for the Unborn was about these old white men, these racist Texans, about the border. Well, they're not racist. These are average, everyday Texans who are concerned about national sovereignty, that are concerned about drug trafficking, that are concerned about human trafficking. I mean, this is a real issue that, by the way, our legislators deal with every day. They need to be informed on what is going on down there. So while they would report it from that perspective, what we do is, write about it from data. Talk about the data, talk about, drug trafficking and human trafficking and those kinds of things. Now, if we, at the end of the day, fall differently, two different readers say, you know what, I'm okay with all these drugs coming across. I'm okay with all these drugs coming across our border.
We're going to clip that. So it's just you saying that you're okay with all these drugs coming across the border.
I mean, it's just silliness, right? I mean, I think, again, I think that when you get the real information out, then people start to, and the factual, real and factual information, I think people are more likely to go, you're right about this. Maybe I don't agree with this, but, that kind of a thing. But when you push a story from a biased activist perspective, it only makes people angry, and they're not really looking for solutions to issues.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the original...
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes. You did a really great job. I have another question for you. Okay, great. How do you toe the line between owning a company that strives for objectivity in journalism while also having so many relationships with the people that we're covering, right? So if a story's a story, it's a story, you have to cover it. How do you balance that with the relationships you have with lawmakers, activists, citizens, grassroots folks, even the lobby and those in Austin that you were interfacing with when you were a senator?
Right. Yeah, I don't care.
She don't care, people.
I really don't. I'm not on a team. I'm not on a team where I feel I've got to defend or advocate. I'm just not. And I don't mean that in a mean or, careless way.
Yeah.
I don't mean that like that. It's, and honestly, at the end of the day, I have to say, at first I was very worried about that. It's like, what if a bad story comes out? But the longer I'm in this, also you with us reporting factual information. And again, we don't report hearsay. We don't report rumors. You could speak better to how many that you have to verify.
Sourcing.
Sourcing. Yeah. We have all of that in place. So if we're writing a story on something, it's going to be factual. Okay. If a particular legislator is not happy with that, that's actually their problem, because it's just the facts that, So let's say they voted, I don't know. Let's say they're a Republican and they voted against, some border security bill. Now, I'll say something else here in a minute, but, if they're upset about that, it's like, well, then that's your problem. You're going to have to deal with that because this is what you did. We reported it. But also what we do is, we don't just say they voted for the border bill or they voted against the border bill, because we know good and well, because so many of y'all have worked in the state legislature, you've worked in politics, you've been in D.C. some, and you understand that there's nuance to every piece of legislation. So it's not, we're not going to go out and report like some do. They voted against the border bill and make people angry at this legislator when, okay, why, we're going to get from them. Why did you? What is it? What did you disagree with, particularly at the national level, right? Those bills are full of garbage, so much stuff. They can do so much more. They can put so much more in a bill in D.C. And so, we get explanation from them as to, why maybe there was something in it, why they voted against it. They're not against securing the border, but they were against this, $10 trillion or something or other, right? So we put all that information in as well.
And we'll say what the bill is, right?
Exactly.
Like in a sentence or two, we'll explain, we won't just call it the border bill, we'll say this bill that does X, Y, and Z and leave it at that.
What was it in Florida that was god-awful? That all the media in Florida, don't say gay bill.
Oh, yeah.
Don't say gay bill. The bill didn't even have the word gay in it. It was just about not having, if I remember correctly, pornographic materials in schools for young kids. And it became the Don't Say Gay bill by left of center media. I mean, this is disingenuous. And of course it spreads like wildfire, and here everybody's screaming about, again, what I just said a few minutes ago. They're all arguing whether gay can be said or not be said when there was no legislation even doing that. I mean, it's an insane world we live in, and the media is at great fault for it. It truly are, left and right, because they just want to, I don't know, what is it? Score points? Be activists? I don't know what it is. I don't get it. I just simply don't get it.
Yeah, the perspective from the media has changed about what their role is, and I think we're seeing that so heavily.
Yes.
What's your perspective, considering that, on how we choose the people that we hire?
Yeah, so I mentioned it. We hire people who have been involved in the political system in some form or fashion, and so who also have excellent writing skills. We do not hire from journalism school, and this may not, somebody listening to this may take issue with that, but I got to tell you, it's pretty bad. I mean, I think a lot of people, hopefully everybody across the board, sees how universities have become such activists in the way they teach, and it's no different in journalism schools. And I've seen it, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking, again, for an activist. I'm looking for somebody that understands the political system, who's worked in politics, who understands the nuance, who can explain it, but also has excellent writing skills. And I think we're better for it. And particularly, I think we're better for it because I'll read something sometimes by a reporter. I'm like, they don't even understand the issue. I can tell they don't understand the issue. They're just, and a lot of people get frustrated with, say, an interview like this, say on, I don't even know, some news station or something. And people who are involved in politics will get very frustrated with that moderator who doesn't push back, say, well, that's not true, because they'll
clarify this.
Yes, exactly.
Make sense, or
it'll be some politician,
obfuscating some, yes,
and they'll just blah blah blah. They'll say something, and they just take it like, oh, okay, when none of what that politician just said is true. And I think they don't know enough to push back. And so I think that's where, okay, it's good to be able to write. It's good to, that's all important. But you also have to understand the issue that you're writing on so that you know the types of questions to ask and to push back on something that they're saying that is flat, that is more campaign than it is truth, right? And so... So we're very focused on people who have worked in politics in some form or fashion and who write really well.
That's perfect.
Write really well. I don't even know.
That totally works. Okay, Brad
good.
The other day thought hypothesizing wasn't a word. And he gaslit me on the podcast and said, that's not a word. And then I second-guessed myself.
Is absolutely a word.
Thank you. And he realized it halfway through and still held his ground because he didn't want to be
here's the deal.
Wrong.
Brad is a curmudgeon.
I have a question about that later. In our rapid fire question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, but how involved are you in the day-to-day operations of the Texan? I think it's fascinating because, like you said, people don't realize that you don't see pieces before they're published. Now, that's different, and I'll say as an editor, if there is a story that I'm like, Konni needs to know, we're going to write about this, I will give you a heads up as the CEO and founder of the company and say, just so you know, this is coming down the pipeline. Either
Right.
it affects somebody that you know, or
Right.
it's something that it'll rock the boat, or whatever it is.
Right.
We'll talk through it, and I'll
Sure.
explain what's going on and our approach to it. And you've
Right.
never told me not to run a story,
That's right.
ever.
That's right.
But in terms of the day-to-day operations, walk us through what that looks like for you.
Yeah. So we have a Slack channel, which probably people know about now, and that has enabled me, because I think I came down quite a bit when we first started, and we had Slack then, but still, I mean, we're starting an organization,
Oh,
you know, and so I
Hands
think,
on deck.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But now, I mean, you guys, I mean, I hire people who are self-starters who, you know, can do the work, and then I expect them to go with it, and y'all have done nothing less than it. I'm not a heavy-handed person ever in any shape or form in my life. You know, I have basic guidelines, and everybody stick to that, and then you won't get my ire. If you don't, you will receive my ire.
That's right.
And I sometimes fire people on Slack, but I don't really mean it because I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We've all been fired. Although
Yes.
I've even been fired. And it took me a long time to be fired.
You were like the last one I had to fire.
Yeah.
And
I worked for you longer than anybody else.
That's right.
For
that's
the
right.
record.
And I think you said something in Maslin, sorry, because I was going to say, I don't think Maslin's been fired yet.
Yeah, I don't think she has either.
She's sweet like you.
We're gonna have to get her
And
fired.
I think you just said something like I misunderstood, and so I fired you.
That wasn't even a real firing. Dang it! I
But
have to
because
get
you
fired
hadn't
for
been fired
real.
yet, I needed
You're like,
to.
You're fired.
But anyway, I obviously I stay in tune with what's going on in the Texan through our Slack channel. I'm always on that, you know, paying attention. But really, our Slack channel isn't even. I mean, it's more discussions, right? It's, you know, and if I interject anything, it's because, okay, yeah, I remember that bill being, you know, we debated that bill such and such. You might want to look at this history or something like that. If I interject something that's actually pertaining to the Texan. It just might be some perspective, right?
Or context, or whatever it is.
Yes, and it's just to get a feel. Mostly, it's to get a feel of what's going on, how things are going, how everybody's doing. That I'm on the Slack channel, and more for me to just, you know, complain, because I do know.
I think your occupation, like you can put in your job title on Slack. I think yours contains an expletive. I won't say.
I think it does say that.
But it's basically like. I just complain and yell a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's true. Connie, her impersonation of herself on her computer is like slamming the keys.
I said this, this might be in another part of this video, but I've said it once already, but I'll say it again. Anybody who's in politics, you either, if you don't laugh, you're going to curl up in a ball and cry all day. Yeah. So, but you also need an outlet, you know, and you know, that's people, and when I do use Twitter, I mean, I you know, sometimes will be very vocal on where I sit on something, but I'm really truly not looking to start arguments on Twitter. It's not really, I kind of just want to, you know, this is where I sit on this is, and I want others to realize that there's different perspectives on things, and I want them to see that. So I really don't go to social media for arguments. I really don't, even though I can be very outspoken on it. I think mostly when there's a narrative being pushed in politics, I like to get on and say, you know,
either look a little deeper, or here's another perspective, or whatever it is.
And I do that a lot more on the right. I push back a lot more on the right than I do the left.
Which it was exactly how you were as a state senator.
Exactly. So I'm like, that's not true. Let's get back to, you know, that's just simply false information that you're spreading out there. So I'll do that. But I think, you know, really Slack is my outlet to, you know, as friends, as people should, you know, entertain arguments one-on-one with each other instead of on social media, which, you know, I've certainly been a part of, though. It's always better to, you know, have these discussions internally, and because you're much more collegial, you know, it's a real person that you're talking to. You think of things that you hadn't thought of before, and so I think I use Slack in that way too. You know, it's more just to kind of, you know, sometimes Can I say bitch? I just did, didn't I?
That's exactly what's in your Slack title that I didn't say. Yes,
does.
of course. And if
Okay.
Daniel thinks we need to bleep it, we'll bleep it.
Okay.
You're
so
doing
I
great.
mostly bitch in Slack, but that's where it needs to. That's where I think those kinds of conversations need to be.
Especially for the team who does not say anything on social media
That's right.
about whatever issues they're
That's
covering,
right.
right? They're like, oh, good, I can talk to Konni about
That's
it.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And frankly, when I go to speak to groups and they say, how do you keep your reporters from putting their personal opinions on social media? I said, we have a Slack. We have Slack. And it does help, I think, right? It helps us all to kind of, something that we all get angry. We're human. Everybody's human. The media that I'm frustrated with is filled up with people that are humans. But what we shouldn't see them is saying things on social media that tip their hand on their worldview in politics, much less validate how we've always thought they felt.
Yes.
And then they validate it by what they're saying, right? So we keep those kinds of conversations internal, and we have fun with it, frankly.
Basically, you don't want the school choice reporter coming out and saying school choice rocks or school choice sucks, even if their reporting is objective,
right.
and you can't tell what they think in their reporting if you see them mouthing off on Twitter.
And we've got those,
They exist.
Exactly. And it's just like, well, okay, how can I take anything that you say now
with any grain of salt.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you've just tipped your hand that you're for this. So now you're only going to see, whichever side you're on as the better side. So you're only going to report it from that way, and it shouldn't be. You have to look again. And I think, being in the legislature, and looking at these bills, and you're like, and having committee hearings and, hearing people's personal perspectives, while if it grew government, if it took away people's personal freedoms, all the conservative principles that I always stood for. It's very easy. If any of them did anything that went against the principles that I stood for, it was an absolute no. But if it was just something of, let's say roads, roads, for instance, which is important, right? Funding roads and where and how. And
function of state government.
Yes, it's a function of state government. I need to understand, what these trucks, it was really interesting. I think all this stuff is very interesting, while mundane is very interesting. There was a lot in West Texas with the oil and gas industry. There's trucks that are destroying the roads more than they are in other parts of Texas. So they wanted more funding there. This is kind of like, oh, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
There's that kind of stuff that I think is interesting and nuanced and doesn't involve, certain principles. It's just a matter of, okay, how can we work this to where, your portion of Texas can also have good, good roads to drive on.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff like that. So that's, I don't even know, again, I kind of rambled away from what your
What
question was.
are the day-to-day operations of the Texan that you're involved in?
And I was talking about
Roads.
West Texas roads.
I literally looked back at my questions and I'm like, which one was she responding to? It's so good.
Oh my God, I am
But it
just
was-
the worst.
But it connected. There were like
did
a lot
it?
of.
Did it connect?
I believe it did.
This is why I've always kept you. You just always make me feel good, even when I'm just so bad. I don't know. Day-to-day operations, West Texas. Oh God! Now people are going to think I'm owned by West Texas Oil.
Oh, Konni.
I'm not.
This is such a good
Is this a good segue?
into my rapid fire questions.
Oh, good. Okay.
I have some rapid fire questions for you. So you have to answer just like
Okay.
not a sentence, like a phrase or a word
This is
or
gonna be
yes or
hard.
no.
Okay.
Who funds the Texan?
Konni and Phil Burton.
That was really good.
Only.
And all our subscribers.
And our subscribers. Yes, of
But
course.
any additional money has only been you and Phil.
Yes, nobody else.
I realize I'm not helping with the rapid fire now.
You just made a sentence on the rapid fire answer.
But I wasn't even my question directed to me. Have your politics changed in the last 5 years?
God, no. No. I am still a very principled conservative.
You can say more sentences if you want.
Okay. Because I want to say more.
I know.
I'm just so frustrated with.
I think because the political landscape, to like help of segue into this, has changed so much in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
People have made assumptions about your political leanings having changed. You know, when you were in the Senate, you were 100% conservative. You had scorecards come out, like all these different things. And I think because the political landscape has changed so much, that folks expect you to have as well.
No, not at all. And frankly, it frustrates me. I see others changing because it's become so identity politics now. It's about, a person rather than the principles that the person stands
policy.
for. So I'll complain. I'll be like, this is bad. This quote unquote, abortion statement that President Trump came out with is bad. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. Then people will be like, "Oh, you're a rhino," or I mean, like, wait, no, I can actually. I'm still the same principled conservative that I've always been. The fact that I'm speaking out on somebody that you, think can do no wrong. Which is fine if you want to think that. Think it. That's fine. But just because you think they can do no wrong and I'm just saying this is a wrong policy decision.
In your opinion.
Yes, in my opinion, doesn't make me the person who is more moderate.
Or different.
Than I'm being the same person I always was. It's like the person doesn't matter to me. That I've never idolized a person. Never. So when they do something wrong, regardless of what on any side of the aisle or whatever side of the aisle they're on, when I say wrong, what I mean by is they go against the principles that I believe they're there for, I will say it. Now, I'm not going out there, losing my mind, screaming my head off, saying I'm never gonna, vote for this person ever again. I'm just simply saying you're going in the wrong direction. I did it when I was in the Senate. I did it with Governor Abbott. I did it with Lieutenant Governor Patrick. I did it, I say, this is wrong. This is growing government, whatever. So I say, no, this is wrong. I'm not going to vote for this. It's the same thing. I'm just doing it maybe on, people who are stating things that are, in my mind, antithetical to conservative principles. Mm-hmm. So I have not changed, no.
And I will say, too, a lot of your platform has changed from those political issues to media, like being a more media watchdog in so many ways, right? Of being like, this is insane. I started a company for these reasons.
Right.
So that transition is also something we could talk for an hour about.
Right, absolutely.
But you still have your opinions and you still share them.
Yeah.
Okay. I really am not good at choosing questions that are good for rapid fire, apparently. But I think these ones will be good.
That's right. This one's supposed to be rapid fire.
Who's the instigator, me or Brad?
Brad.
Oh, praise the Lord. Okay, if you had a bank heist with the team members here, if you had to fill roles in a bank heist and draft the team members, who would be the negotiator?
Oh, I thought you said I had a bank heist. Okay, if I had, I was like, I don't remember this.
I love that you thought seriously about that.
I was like, I don't remember. Mackenzie, you're asking me a question I don't have any memory of.
Lord. Who would be the negotiator? Who would be the muscle, like the gunman? Who would be the systems penetrator, so like the vault computer, like the IT guy? Mm. And who would be the getaway driver?
Oh.
And this can be from, like...
Okay. Ask me one at a time now.
Negotiator.
You.
Praise the Lord. Gunman or muscle? I can't believe you'd choose me for muscle.
Wait, which one are you asking me now?
Muscle.
Muscle.
Yeah.
Oh, this is hard. Because... what was the other one besides muscle? You said
the IT, like the vault computer hacking.
Okay, because
and the getaway driver.
Okay, that's okay. This is supposed to be rapid fire. So I kind of see Brad. But I don't see him as muscle though.
He's gonna hate that you said that.
He wants to be muscle.
I don't see Brad as just that sentence alone.
Yeah. Let's just clip that. I don't see Brad as muscle.
That's so good.
I see him as a getaway driver.
That's what I was thinking.
That's right. So I see Brad as the getaway driver. Muscle. This is weird because maybe he needs to be Rob because he's so tall. You know,
Yeah.
you could
Totally.
squash.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
And then IT, compute. Also, we don't have enough roles for everybody in the office.
Exactly. I was going to say, well, Daniel obviously does a lot of that, but Cameron is also very
Heady.
Heady. Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
If you had to move outside of Texas, where would you move?
Tennessee.
I love it. That's
I don't
really
even know why.
It's really pretty there.
It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for
Okay.
you before we move on. Actually, no, 2 questions, and then
Okay.
we'll be done.
Okay.
What do you see the next 5 years being for the Texan?
Yeah. So obviously, I want us to grow. What I see, we do such a fabulous job here in Austin, covering the legislative sessions. Y'all do phenomenal work. I think we're going to continue to do that. We have to continue to do that. But where I see, and people actually, frankly, ask me when I'm going throughout Texas talking about the Texan, people say, will you come and report here in our rural community or even in the suburban, urban, areas. So we currently have Holly Hansen reporting in Harris County, and we have Kim Roberts, who's reporting in the DFW area.
And Seth Moorhead, and we have a new edition coming very
that's
soon.
That's right. So they do phenomenal work, and people love that. That's 2 areas. I mean, we still have what? And we covered Travis County because the reporters are here as bandwidth allows, I'd say, right? Yeah. But my God, we've got East Texas, West Texas, South Texas. There's so much more. So what I want to do is grow in those areas, have more writers, regional writers, I guess is what I'm saying, in all over Texas that, talk about what's going on in their community. Because my God, as we've seen of late, like these school board races are becoming, not that they weren't important before, but people are realizing more lately how important they are. And they're, more and more people are asking me, are you going to report on the local school board election? And we can't, because we don't really have reporters in that area. We don't have the bandwidth to do it.
And if we do, it's a 1 hit. Or a 2
exactly.
hit. We can't cover it
we
as
do
much as
sometimes.
We want.
Yes,
we definitely do,
right.
But it's not to the extent we wish we could.
Exactly. So I'd love to see us have regional reporters in more areas of Texas so that we can cover more of these local political stories that need to be covered. And I get told from people like, oh, you just wouldn't believe what's going on, but they can't really do anything about it because it's kind of like not. It's hearsay, and yet they know it, and yet they don't have anybody to really look into it or report on it, right? So, and you have to have verifiable evidence of that. And so without anybody there doing that, I think a lot of politicians know it. So, they continue to get away with things that maybe they shouldn't be doing, or I don't know,
There's just a lot to cover.
Yeah. So as we grow, what I really want to do is grow in regional capacity.
I realized we did not mention Matt Stringer, but I don't think of him as, because he was full-time here,
yes,
and then he went back to
sorry,
West Texas.
Matt.
But Matt, we're mentioning you now.
Yes.
So that could have been bad.
I'm terrible.
No, I'm terrible. Okay, final question. What's the best part of the job?
Honestly, it's the camaraderie with the team. I said this when I was running for election, my first time and my second time. I freaking loved, and I call all of y'all kids, because anybody that's younger than me are kids, even though y'all are total adults and much more put together than I ever was at that age, and probably more put together than at this
Ridiculous.
age. But I loved the kids that worked on my campaign.
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved them. It's just like these smart, go-getting, it was fun, right?
Yeah.
And on both campaigns, it just like, I love nothing more than seeing young people dedicated to what they're doing and enthusiastic and having fun, and we had that in both campaigns, and I just loved it. And it's the same thing here at the Texan. It's just like, Phil and I will be like, God dang it, they're smart.
We have you guys so fooled.
I know. No, you don't. Right? It's just, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to have everyone that we have at the Texan on staff doing beautiful work, and watching them and watching them do it, reading the articles that they put out, and seeing how dedicated they are to it. And, young people get a bad rap by old people. I get so tired of people, that's next generation, blah, blah, and I'm sure that's true of some, but, it's like you certainly haven't seen the people that I've worked with, because they're young and they're smart and they're ambitious and they're, grounded. And I just love seeing that. I love seeing a younger generation. It makes me feel good, and I'm so happy to have that here at the Texan.
Well, what a way to end. Konni, thanks for joining our podcast.
You're very welcome. Y'all can invite me anytime.
Wow, you're going to regret saying that, Lord in heaven. Well, happy 5th anniversary.
Thank you. Happy 5th anniversary.
Thank you so much for listening to my interview with Konni Burton today, celebrating our 5-year anniversary. If you haven't already, go to thetexan.news and subscribe today. If you're listening on the anniversary, our 5th year anniversary, we have an awesome discount available to first-time subscribers. And if you want to go above and beyond to support the Texan, become a Patriot subscriber today.